Hey everyone, today is a nice, cool, rainy day. It's only 67 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going up to take a look at a place called Saco Lake. To me, it only looks like a pond, but it is indeed called a lake. We've been there before in the past, and now they have a spillway structure with a clog on it from the beavers. We're gonna go ahead and work on removing that. I was up here back in the winter time because this area seems to get over a month of negative 30 degrees straight, which is very cold. Things freeze solid. This entire spillway froze solid, so when the spring thaw came, it was frozen still. It flooded over the road. Their parking lot was underwater. I saw the DOT there with excavators digging out the ice, freeing up culverts. That was pretty cool. And then we'll go for a little walk around the lake. I'll show you a little bit of the erosion damage that's happened in recent years. Alright everybody, right here to the left, the beavers always jam up this tiny little bridge. There's a dam with a tiny little bridge under it right here to our left. It's a rainy day, so there's not many hikers around using the trail. This parking lot that I'm pulling into right now during the winter time was flooded out because of the ice damming. And I'm sure the beavers have done it before also, because the water level's literally only a foot below the parking lot. Let me show you. Beautiful place. Got the railway over there. Up there's Mount Willard. Nice little lake. See? It's only about a foot below the parking lot. And there's a beaver dam starting. Beaver dam's not holding up much, but we're gonna give it a quick removal. Then I'll show you along this trail a little bit. Look at what's happening downstream. It comes right in here to a culvert. It goes under the road. Then it goes into another marsh. Dam has a little bit of damage. See, you can see the entire dam right there shifted. Probably in the winter when it's extremely cold, the ice probably shifted against this. Because you see, that's the original position. The entire dam here is forward about 2 or 3 inches. Beavers are only holding the water up maybe between 2 and 5 inches, depending on if that crack right there is going to use a lot. Alrighty, everybody, I'm all geared up. Now we're going to go in there and start removing this. Alrighty everyone, that was a fun one. Now the waterfall's going really nicely. As you can see, the dam was likely only holding up an inch or two of water. Going nicely. I had to throw all the debris up on the other side. This is one of those situations, it's not a good idea to let it pass because there's a culvert literally 50 feet downstream going under the street. And if I was to let this go, it may cause a clog there, it may not. I know you guys see me a lot of times just throw the stuff downstream, but that's because there's miles and miles of wilderness, beaver ponds, swamps. Nothing's ever gonna get stuck in a situation like that. Or the pipe is leading directly to a bigger river that doesn't use culverts, it just has big bridges until it's way to the ocean. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead right now and remove my gloves. And I'm gonna take you guys for a little walk. Alrighty, everybody, let's go on a nice walk. See, the wood is pretty worn out from all the hikers' spiked shoes, mainly for the ice in the winter time. Cleats and crampons. Look at downstream how much more water we got surging. Here's what it looked like before. And here's what it looks like after. A lot of debris. And we'll go visit the next culvert as soon as I show you guys the trail. So this is the big pile of debris we were able to get out of the pipe. You can still see some leaves and debris from the bottom with the new current starting to flow by. Other than that crack, this dam's not in the worst condition. I've seen way worse. It's not at risk of failing. It just needs at some point a little bit extra care. A few hikers just went over the bridge. I'm gonna go ahead and remove these logs down here to prevent them from getting into the next culvert downstream. Just by removing that log, look at the debris that's starting to come out of the plunge pool. Ton of leaves, all making their way out. That log was pretty heavy, I couldn't lift it up. It's completely waterlogged, like a big sponge. We're gonna take you guys downstream first, then we'll do the trail. Water's pretty deep here. Whoa, slippery rocks. Just rained out, so these trees are soaked. Getting pretty wet doing this. But it's really nice out. 67, high humidity. This is the only time I feel it's okay for high humidity, is when it's pretty cool out because it makes it feel warm. Here's a bunch of debris. That's anchored pretty well. Just making sure it can't easily get loosened into the next culvert. Water's pretty deep right here. So that log has been there a long time. See how deep I am? I'm well over my knees. So this naturally made plunge pool has been eroding there for quite a while. Continuing downstream. We're approaching the culvert, I think. Yep. The type of trees you're seeing really love water. They grow really close to water, and when the water level becomes high, like in the spring thaw or after a storm, these trees can completely fold, let water go over them. Then they stand back up as just a little bit of time goes by. They stand themselves right back up. Now here I'm seeing a lot of tadpoles. They'll either stay here until the water starts calming down, or they'll get swept to the next swamp. You see on the other side of this culvert, the water's pretty still. Let's go in. There's not a lot of soil or gravel between the culvert and the road. Only about a foot. Take a look at all these tadpoles along the edges of the culvert. Bunch of them. And you see there's a whole bunch of debris floating by from that unclogging we just did. We're making our way through. It's actually starting to get hot in here. We just went through a couple days of 90-degree temperatures. Not up here, but where I'm from. Up here, the forecast said the last couple days were in the 80s. That's why I chose today, a nice cool day to come on up. I think the ground is still keeping a lot of heat because this culvert, you saw how it was shallow, but yet usually culverts are really cool because you're out of the sun, you're underground. It's actually much hotter in there than outside. And now you see it's nice and still here. Tadpoles won't get swept away from this type of area. I'm treading very slowly since I cannot see the bottom, and it's very murky from that unclogging. A lot of stuff is stirred up. Yep. And now it starts accelerating. But the tadpoles shouldn't get swept out of this pool. If they do, there's many more small pools like this along the way. And if they make it another half a mile downstream, there's a giant pond. And now it starts going through this drainage ditch at a good rate of speed. And up there is what we call Elephant Rock, Mount Elephant Head. That's right up there. Looks like an elephant. I've hiked that a few times when I was little, but it's been a while. It's a very short hike. Making my way back under the road. Now we're going to do that little trail. Oh, spider web right in the face on the way out. I must have ducked lower on the way in. Let's begin the trail. It's starting to rain again. The rain actually took like a 20-minute break, but it's starting again. So this is a pretty nice trail. It's oftentimes very muddy because it has very little elevation from the pond. Like right here, I can tell during storms, water crosses a lot. This bridge is crooked because one of its supports is extremely eroded. It's been like that a pretty long time. You see how the sleeves are stuck against all these logs. This thing rages sometimes a lot. Notice how the whole trail is kind of rocky. It's because all the soil between the rocks, even the sand, gets washed out. But the river's not powerful enough to move most of the rocks. See how the whole ground is disturbed here? This whole area floods, but if you think that's something to Just come and see this. The trail used to go straight through here. People kind of moved it here because it's way easier. Notice how there's like a big hill here of just rock. During one of the recent spring thaws, about 3 years ago, this entire area was underneath raging water. It put all these rocks onto the trail. That used to be just a nice little dirt trail like the rest. This turned into a raging river during the spring thaw, pushing all these rocks down here. And just by looking around at the evidence, there's so many rocks moved. This must have been going so hard. I bet you that little dam down there, it couldn't fit through there fast enough. So pond levels probably rose. That parking lot was definitely underwater. This trail, the majority of it was probably underwater because most of it is low-lying. You see, people here kind of put things together to make a little bridge afterwards. Cool square rock. And right here we got a little bit of trickling and some natural debris that just got stuck here. This, I believe, used to be a little stream with a bridge. And now you see what I mean, that most of the trail is only about a foot elevation above the pond. So if that thing gets clogged by beavers, it easily starts flooding. Like you see right here, puddles. They literally only have about 4 inches of elevation, which isn't a lot. Beautiful trail. This is like a trail for a beginner hiker. If I was walking at full speed, could probably get around the whole thing in 10 minutes. Right here we have a nice boardwalk. You see they've sunken quite a bunch since they were originally installed. A few years ago, we actually dug out this little channel right here because it must have been during the spring. Now that it's summer, it's not flowing, but there was a good amount of water coming through here, clogged up, going over these boardwalks. Up here, there's a bunch of debris that fell onto this bridge. They finally moved it over, but I don't understand why they didn't completely chop it up. Taking a look at the evidence, it looks like this was probably cut out of the way with a handsaw. Just by looking at the sawdust and stuff, I think this was all cut by hand out of the way. Maybe by just a person being nice, getting it out of the way for the public. There's no evidence a chainsaw was done, so that was definitely done by a good Samaritan. Take a look at this bridge here. See, it's kind of rickety because that tree fell on this. I believe if I stepped right there, this whole thing might just topple. I can feel it moving. Yeah, if this was done actually by the Park Service, I think they would have removed all this debris, got it out of the water, because that's building material now for beavers, and it's very easily accessible. Got another boardwalk here that's collapsing, falling apart. And by the way, everyone, these boardwalks are extremely slippery. Without asphalt shingles or chicken wire on there, you can easily fall when these things are wet. And I will show you guys anything else exciting along the way. All right, everyone, 30 seconds later, we approach this. A very old granite staircase. We're gonna go up it. A lot of the stairs have shifted, and it being rainy are pretty slippery. So I gotta be pretty careful going up this. Gotta make sure I grab onto things that are stable. And up at the top, here's a railing. But I'm still gonna be extremely careful because this rock is actually slippery. But this railing is extremely strong, and I do trust it. Ugh. Nice place. Look at this tree. It's literally growing off the edge. I'll show you that once we get back down on the trail. Nice woodpecker holes in that tree. The trail doesn't go up there. People created a new trail going somewhere. If you look down below, there's a bridge. On my way back down, check out this railing here. Years of people not going near it has caused trees to grow in. And take a look at this tree. It's growing right around the railing. We got a slug friend on the way down. All right, now take a look at this beaver lodge. This is where they live. They're protected around here. They'll never be removed. Looks a lot different than the last time I was here. The lodge used to be big enough you could use it as a bridge to get out there to that little island. Not anymore. Wonder what happened to it. But I can tell this is a active beaver lodge. By the size of it, there's only a few. Here's that bridge I was showing you from up above. And there's that tree I was showing you from up above. See how it's literally growing off the edge? Going across another pretty high bridge. This one seems very stable, but it's also, remember, extremely slippery because the timbers are wet. There's a few more little boardwalks, but for the rest of the trail, it goes up in the woods, so you're not actually on the water. All right, everybody. I hope today's video was interesting. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. If you can tell up in the mountains, it's starting to rain heavier, and it's starting to rain heavier down here too. I think today's an awesome day to be out. Wow, it just started absolutely pouring out. The water looks like it's flowing a lot more now, especially now that it started becoming windy with a little bit of rain. It's pushing little waves over it.